Let's see. Okay. Yay. I feel like we can all hear now. I see smiles. um, so I see that you guys have the mic muted. I'm going to still wait one more minute for everyone to come. You can keep it muted. Toward the end of each session, I allocate approximately 15 minutes to Q&A. So keep your question in your mind. If you want, there's a chat box. If you scroll to the bottom of Zoom, you can click on a word chat. You may already have it open on the right-hand side of your screen. You can put a question into the chat box so that you don't forget it, and then I'll go to it toward the end. So just feel free to type it in or keep it stored in your brain, and I'll get to them by the end because we have an hour of magic planned. We have one more minute. I hope you guys have tea. I always have tea. Even though this is probably the only sip I will take for the entire hour. Right. Okay, well, welcome everybody. Thank you guys so much for being here, for taking the time out of your day and out of your weekend to sit and to receive the first session of the Gateway. Let's just take a moment wherever you are. We're all in different places. Some of us aren't here because we live in countries where it's 3 in the morning, but let's just take a moment to, wherever you are, unless of course you're driving, just close your eyes for a moment. If you're sitting on a chair or on a couch or on a cushion, just see if you can anchor your sitting bones down into that support structure and elongate your spine. You know, as a yoga instructor as well as a health coach, I see the relationship. It's so crucial. When the body is in a good posture, when the spine is elongated, we'll feel more energized, we'll feel more receptive. Your spine is kind of like an antenna. And that antenna can both transmit and receive energy efficiently. So do your best to sit with a comfortable posture, but also an open posture and an open heart. And then from wherever you are, just take a deep inhale breath into your belly. Keep going in. Let it flood the midsection of your diaphragm all the way up to your heart space. Hold the breath in when you're full. And a gentle sigh, exhale. Just 2 more like that. Inhale, filling up with space, with energy. Hold it in at the top. Out of your mouth, exhale, releasing any stagnant energy, any stress, anything that may be preventing you from being fully present for this session. And one last one. Inhale. How much will you allow yourself to receive in this moment? Keep going until you feel full, but try not to strain at the top. And exhale. Take a few moments to just observe where you've landed. There are millions of places you could be right now, and you have landed here on this virtual call. But one thing I know from these calls is that they don't seem virtual when you're present. So your only job this evening is to receive, to get curious, again, to ask questions. Those of you who came on a little bit later, you're welcome to ask questions throughout. I will allocate 15 to 20 minutes at the end of the session, depending on where we are with all of the information. So welcome. It's official. I have goosebumps. I don't know about you. I'm not even cold. Session number 1 of the Gateway. Please know, you may know that each of the next 7 weeks contains a separate theme. And though the themes may seem relatively unrelated, they're all connected. So you'll see how they all connect. You'll know on an experiential level. You'll have the tools and the understanding at the end of the 7 weeks. So please know that this is designed to be a journey. Literally, it's designed to be a journey that takes you through something that in the beginning you may say, wait, but that thing about food, I still don't get that yet. Trust me, towards week 7, it's all going to make more sense. So before we begin, a ritual that I like to implement before every single session, besides the deep breathing, is picking a card. We are all women in this group. I feel very called to work with women, and we are in luck because there is such a thing as the goddess deck. So I'm going to have us choose. Boom, boom, boom. They're all shuffled. Oh, that's the one you want? Okay, I knew it. You guys all wanted the same card. It's crazy. Okay, and we get Diana. Focused intention. Keep your unwavering thoughts, feelings, and actions focused on your target, and you will make your mark. I'm going to read brief. Oh, wow. I just literally opened up the book to Diana. That's creepy. Okay. Let's see. This is what the meaning of the card is for all of you, just to take in whatever it resonates with you, if it does or not. Stay positive. Know what your priorities are and take action on them. Take control of your schedule. Release all doubts and avoid naysayers and skeptics. I'll take it. Okay, so we're going to choose a card each time. I choose a card every single morning when I wake up, and I love sharing that with people. So today's focus is nutrition. And when I say nutrition, I'm talking about physical food, the stuff that we consume through our mouths, that we digest through our organ systems and our intestines, and that ultimately creates our physical experience as well as our mental and emotional experience. One thing for those of you who don't know, I am a certified health coach. I attended the Institute for Integrative Nutrition 9 years ago. It was a live training in New York City where we learned basically every major dietary theory, its pros and cons. And ultimately, even though they didn't necessarily say this in the beginning of the course, we learn how to eat intuitively, how to actually tune into what our body desires to eat. How incredible would it be if you could wake up in the morning, close your eyes, kind of like we began this practice, this session, and check in with your body, as if your body had this inborn and inherent wisdom that despite all of the thoughts and of what you should eat or what you ate yesterday or what someone said you should eat or what constitutes as okay or allowed on your diet, what if you could bypass all of the mental movement and tap into an inner knowing of what you need, and not only what you need, but how much and when? So I like to move in two different directions. I like to move into structure as well as into, say, freedom. Because for each of you, there's going to be a different diet that works for you. You may have experimented with different diets. Anyone? I know I've tried a couple on in my lifetime, and that's part of why I do this in addition to my professional training. It's important to experiment with different diets, but chances are nothing has stuck 100% sustainably, at least without any type of cravings, any type of desires, any type of quote unquote cheat moments or cheat days, right? There's still this, I'd say, mental battle that's going on. And please know that this is okay. Mind you, a brief aside. If you're a note taker, take notes. If you're not a note taker, trust that whatever you're meant to receive from each session, you will receive. Plus, you're going to receive this entire recording, and you're going to receive follow-up information in 24 hours. So wait impatiently or patiently, but you will be receiving extra bonuses in your inbox tomorrow evening. That being said, the goal, my goal for all people, all women especially, is to be able to eat intuitively. But what does that even mean? So the reason that food is so important, and I begin with food, is because food is the root. Food is the root chakra. If you study the chakra systems, we'll get to that later in the course, but we have these 7 different energy centers. And the base, which governs our connection to earth, it governs our relationship to our bodies, it governs our elimination. Have you ever woken up in the morning and not been able to go number 2? Poop? I'll just call it poop. How does that affect your mood when you can't go? it's really important when we talk about nutrition to like totally be fine with talking about poop, because that's a big part of understanding your digestion. First of all, it's an enormous part of losing weight. Oftentimes people think that if they just pump iron in the gym and they work out a lot, that they're going to lose weight. That's not necessarily true. In fact, it can do the opposite if your body is producing extra cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone that is released into your bloodstream if you're overeating sugar and simple carbohydrates. The reason I say this is because cortisol is also produced when you're stressed out. You've probably heard that stress can cause weight gain. Well, certain foods can cause stress response in your body. If you drink enough alcohol, your mood will shift, right? Something will change. Your energy will be altered in some way. Same thing as if you drink a lot of caffeine. If you were to do an experiment, and I would tell you for one day, all you can eat are Snickers bars, just as an experiment, Snickers. And the next day, all you can eat is broccoli. I'll say don't try the first one at home, but you could try the second one at home. Or if you're going to try the first one at home, try it with, raw chocolate, raw vegan chocolate. Because honestly, still even dark chocolate, if you eat enough of one thing, you will become sensitive to understand the implications of that food. Therefore, food has energy in it. If you really want to understand nutrition, what your body needs, you have to understand, it's like if I need a pick-me-up, I'll have a coffee. If I realize that I need a pick-me-up 5 times a day, well, then maybe there's something in my lifestyle that's causing me to feel extra fatigue. So please know one thing, that there's really nothing that you can eat for energy. And please understand when I say that. There's nothing you can eat for energy. You have energy. Energy is what keeps you going. It keeps your heart beating. It keeps your breath beating. It keeps your breath breathing you, right? Energy is your birthright. But sometimes either foods we're eating or various other lifestyle factors, especially lack of sleep, which we'll get to another time, but that's a big elephant in the room. But lack of sleep, improper food choices, and other life experiences are zapping us. People, situations, work, whatever it is, it's really our incapacity to handle what's happening, and our incapacity especially to handle certain types of foods. So the first things first, and you guys are all evolved human beings. I read through your surveys and you're amazing, magical humans. I am actually honored to be holding space for such powerful goddesses. That being said, gentle reminder, because sometimes life gets the best of us and we develop these little interesting habits. I know I do, and I have in the past, whether it's binge eating or giving into certain cravings, or, well, just a little. I only had one piece, right? So the first things first is to eliminate, and I rarely tell people what to do. I'm here to propose an inquiry, a question, so that you, between the sessions, can start exploring in your own life. Eliminate artificial junk food, 100% from your diet. What do I mean by artificial junk food? I mean the Snickers bars, or anything where if you read the ingredients and you cannot pronounce, first of all, what's in your food, or you don't know what it is, you can always Google. Like this whole journey is about becoming empowered. And if what you put in your body is intricately related to your mind, to your digestion, to your physical nature, to your seat, to being able to feel comfortable in your own skin, regardless of weight loss, please know that's a byproduct. When you're eating balanced, not depriving yourself, because that leads to cravings, that's too yin and yang. We're looking for the middle. But the first things first is that artificial processed food has to be gone. Because what happens, and I'll give an example, aspartame. Aspartame, you guys may know, is in things like Sweet and Low or Equal or Splenda. I think it's in Splenda, but it's in fake sugars. I used to eat fake sugars all the time. Sugar-free, fat-free, might as well. It's just air, right? Calorie-free. Meanwhile, I was stuffing myself with chemicals, which were actually causing me a great deal of anxiety. I didn't even know that it was from what I was eating. But once I became enlightened to understanding ingredient labels, I started realizing everything began with the letter X and had 75 letters, each ingredient. And I started doing research, and I got very geeky about the research I did. And it scared the hell out of me. It actually scared me so much that that's why I do what I do now. And I'm not saying that you should be scared, because the body is an incredible, miraculous, comprehensive biocomputer. And as my teacher would always say, and some of you actually may have the same teacher, but given half a chance, the body will heal itself. And it's never too late. Now, something happens on a more psychosomatic level when you've been eating something for a long time, whether it's Oreo cookies or some sort of a candy bar that you've always had since you were a kid, and there's an emotional response as well. When I work with clients and we talk about avoiding certain foods, sometimes this interesting rebellious energy comes up. Well, but I don't want to, but that's like, I like it. It's mine. It's my reward. Please notice if your rewards are actually rewards, whether it's a big pizza or a candy or a chip or a cookie or whatever it is. Is it a reward, or is it actually toxic? Please know I am not suggesting that you eat only broccoli either. There's something, I was at a food expo years ago, a nutrition expo, and there was actually a brand, oh goodness, I forget the name of the brand, but their whole teaching was called transitional nutrition. And that's what I focus on heavily with people, because transitional nutrition is how to transition from foods that I'm accustomed to. Oh my gosh, my mom's homemade lasagna, or that fresh baked bread, or that fried calamari, whatever it may be, right? To more wholesome, more natural, more simpler foods. So there are ways to actually get what you want, to curb cravings without the side effects. For years, I felt bloated. If you ever feel bloated after you eat, you might think it's normal. I thought it was normal, and it wasn't. It was purely due to eating way too many processed grains. I will say for the majority of people, eating grain-based foods such as pastas, rice, breads, pastries, cookies, crackers, so forth, anything made with wheat, especially refined wheat flour, causes inflammation. It causes the body to actually release so much cortisol, which is actually a good hormone for burning fat, until it becomes too much, and then it gets stored in your fat cells. The only way to break up fat in the body is for the body to be functioning in what's called ketosis. Has anybody heard of the keto diet, the ketogenic diet? Yeah, it's all these names. Please know that I'm a label-free human being. I was a strict vegan for a long time, and I no longer identify with that. Hallelujah! It's freedom, freedom. I like to call myself a flexitarian, and I encourage you to be open-minded, because your body is changing all the time. If you've been eating the same foods that you were eating when you were a child, it's maybe time to reassess your daily habits and try new things. That being said, your body can only burn fat if burning fat is a goal of yours, like a true goal. You feel like you've been holding on to this weight forever. And mind you, there may be other reasons that your body's holding on to it. But we want to stimulate fat burning like as a natural default. Your body has to be in ketosis, where it means it starts burning fat for fuel instead of muscle for fuel. And the only way to do that is to reduce your amount of refined sugars. Things like pasta and bread convert to sugar once you eat them. So for example, this is why food labels, nutrition facts labels, are somewhat, what's the word I want to say? They're very, very misleading. Because if I were to, say for example, grab a box of pasta, and I wanted to know how much sugar is in the pasta, on the nutrition facts label, it will say 0 grams of sugar. But the moment that you digest it, it converts to sugar. It gets stored in your fat cells. And so we have to actually either, or both, reduce or eliminate for a period of time refined carbohydrates to kind of take the cortisol out of the fat cells and to reset the entire system. and or implement fasting. If you guys were on the webinar I did last week, I focused heavily on intermittent fasting. The reason that I bring up intermittent fasting in a group coaching, because mind you, we're all different. When I work one-on-one with people, it's very, very, very specific. But that being said, I've been doing it for almost a decade, and I know what works for the majority of people and what I feel comfortable sharing as something that's safe and highly effective for you to try on. Intermittent fasting is an invitation for your body to digest food more efficiently, to detoxify as it is intended to do. Our ancestors were rolling on the feast and famine cycle. They would stop eating for a period of time before their next meal. In fact, they had to go hunt and gather their next meal, so they were using their muscles. They were moving a lot through the fields to hunt and gather the food. And they didn't know when they're going to be able to, whatever, kill the next tiger or what cow or deer or whatever it was going to be, right? Or harvest the vegetables. Maybe it was not a good season. So fasting was very natural. Now, we're not our ancestors anymore. We've evolved. And that being said, though, biologically speaking, we haven't evolved that much. We haven't evolved to the state that we are able to process industrialized, artificial, chemicalized junk foods, nor are we able to digest at a speed that allows us to eat 3 heavy meals a day, especially plus snacks, especially if we're not moving, especially if we're sedentary. So in order to kickstart, to jumpstart the body's fat burning capacity, we have to eat less for a long period of time. Intermittent fasting, if you are to study it, it is proposed to stop eating for really 17 hours is the minimum suggested. The way I work with people, because that sometimes shocks people, like, what are you talking about? I say start with 12. Because for most people, we stop eating. Now, this includes everything. So like you might be done with dinner, but I know for myself, I used to always snack on popcorn or almonds or dark chocolate. It was like after dinner, before bed, like I need something. Really what I needed was a good book and some self-massage, but I didn't know that. I thought I needed actual sweets or something of that nature. But that was going on until about 11 p.m. So if you're eating till later at night, if you, even the last thing that you eat, even if it's small, it evokes, it ignites your digestive system. It's impossible to burn fat while digesting. So you want the digestive system to be turned off so that your liver can start functioning. The liver is incredible in detoxifying. That's what, when you wake up in the morning, go to the bathroom, it's because the liver did its job. But if you're eating late at night and then you're waking up in the morning and you're having food immediately when you wake up in the morning, you're not giving your body a chance to process and assimilate food effectively. So this includes everything except for water, herbal tea. You could do lemon water if you want. You can have black coffee or espresso on the fast, but ideally not having milk in your coffee is suggested, and not even having fruit. In fact, I would suggest stopping eating at a certain time, for example, 9 p.m., start having something at 9 a.m., maybe a piece of fruit. If that seems really easy, then you gradually increase it. I'm all about slow transitions, and I like to introduce new theories in. And please know that when a new theory pops in, especially if it's something that you've never heard before or something that goes against your current routine, it can stir up emotions. So observe while you're in these sessions. Let the session be like a meditation. Observe your mind. Observe what you agree or disagree with as you're listening and receiving, because sometimes it's our minds that are in the way. So when you can be open, curious, non-judgmental, these are beautiful qualities, because you've probably heard the phrase, what's the phrase? Nothing will change unless you change, right? Something. And it doesn't have to be big. I had a client recently who I introduced intermittent fasting to. She literally gave me a look of death. She goes, no, I need my 3 meals a day, and I need my snacks. Like I know myself. I said, yeah, but but you're suffering. So you might think that you need it every day. So these theories that may seem crazy are founded on science, first of all. Nothing I'm saying is just random and out there. I now fast for 17 hours a day. I've worked my way up. I stop eating at 9 p.m. My first food is at 2 p.m. and it's fruit. I eat one meal a day and it's great. And guess what? I have way more energy than when I was eating 3 meals a day. Other ways that you can reduce bloating and lose weight and also be able to feel more energized, more of your natural energy. Remember what I said earlier about energy. It's yours. It's just that sometimes there are blockages in our channels. And blockages in our channels can come from undigested food particles, in addition to eating the wrong foods. If you're eating artificial food, your body says, oh my God, what's happening? I don't know how to process this. There's like this pause. There's a block, and it can send your body into inflammation mode. You can get acne, you can gain weight, you can get irritable, you can get depressed, anxious. Yes, from food. It is that powerful. But what can also happen is undigested food particles can cause these blockages. So one of the ways to amp up your digestion, eliminate more efficiently, have more energy, lose the bloating is chewing. If you read any of the 14 million quadrillion diet books out there, everyone's telling you what to eat. If I were to ask you all, do you have any idea what you should be eating? Do you have any idea what you maybe would want to avoid? Like, I'm not going to bore you with the obvious stuff. I'll add some reminders at the end, but how often do you see a book or read, and maybe you have because it's perhaps coming into the forefront now finally, something that goes in depth about how to eat? Remember, we started the session sitting up tall. Guess what? Your digestion is more effective if you're sitting tall. If you sit in a couch when eating, it's actually going to impede your digestion. My suggestion is to sit on something hard and sit up without leaning when you're eating. If you've ever traveled to Asia or Japan, they sit on the floor. If you've gone to certain Japanese restaurants, sit on the floor, sit on a very small cushion. Another thing is to chew your food very, very, very well. Chew your food very well. We in the Western culture use shovels for eating, aka forks. But in the East, they use chopsticks. I use chopsticks only. And as my teacher taught, it changed my life, and maybe it will help you. I love sharing this, is let this be the planting of a seed to start eating not only with chopsticks, but to eat with your non-dominant hand with chopsticks. My friends, this is a very, very strong practice. It is a meditation in and of itself. I will have to say, I'll toot my own horn, I now eat. I'm a lefty, usually. I eat with my right hand with chopsticks like a champ. That being said, it slows you down. If you are piling food, if you're talking to people while you're eating, you're swallowing food, you cannot multitask. It's impossible. Your teeth were designed for chewing food because chewing initiates, first of all, chewing releases enzymes into your digestive tract. You'll start swallowing saliva before you swallow the food if you are chewing appropriately. And we're so accustomed to chewing that, especially if you're eating food that's not healthy or that's artificial, the more you chew it. I have done the Snickers experiment, which is actually why I use that as an experiment. Once I learned about chewing, I used a Snickers, and I used, you know what Pop Chips are? Pop Chips are like this chip that was kind of marketed as a healthy food. It's like popcorn chips. They're like a little triangle. And only 30 calories a bag, this and that. But when I read the ingredients, I said, okay, this is crap. This is like enriched flour and a bunch of, cornstarch and just stuff that is not necessary in my body. I started chewing. I did a Snickers bar once, and I did a Pop Chips the other day. Same result for both. First of all, the Pop Chip began to taste like a vitamin, like a Flintstones vitamin, and it became powdery in my mouth. The Snickers bar similarly started to taste like a strong chemical flavor. In the beginning, it was good. In the beginning, I got this rush of sugar. I got the rush of salt in the chip. But the longer I left it in my mouth, that wore away. The people who create food in a chemical laboratory are very skilled scientists. Food, chemicalized food like cheese doodles or chips or nachos, whatever it is, they're designed to get you to have a bite and then already have your hand in the bag for the next bite. So please know that mindless eating and overeating, yes, there's an emotional component to it for sure, but there's also a physical component to it, that it's not just about willpower. Like, food is addicting. It's the highest addiction that we all have as human beings. That's why we get triggered when someone tells us, well, eat less. Or what about questioning that thing that you have all the time? Or what about finding a healthier version of it? Speaking of healthier, okay, so chew your food well. Try at least in a snack or a meal, close your eyes when chewing. If you have the urge to swallow, this is a secret. You take the food, you hide it behind your cheek like a little chipmunk. You swallow, you breathe, and you bring the food back in. Your food lasts longer that way. You'll be less hungry because when you chew your food, you're liquefying it so that when you swallow it, all of the nutrients, assuming that the food has some nutrients, gets immediately absorbed into your bloodstream and it's immediately digested. That's why people have smoothies. Smoothies are a wonderful meal alternative that's easily digestible if you want more energy. If you feel like you're rushing out of the house in the morning and you're fixing up a 3-course breakfast with toast and eggs and fruit or whatever it is, suggestion is to, and then you feel tired after you eat it, make a smoothie instead. Make a green smoothie. Some frozen berries, some kale, some hemp seeds, some coconut water, some almond milk. Boom. Put it on high. Bring it out the door with you. That'll be your breaking of your fast. Easily digested because it's pre-chewed. But that's not to say that you shouldn't chew on your own, because chewing is a practice of slowing down. And if you want these 7 weeks to bring forth the amount of magic that they have the potential to bring, slowing down is going to be key. Breathing is going to be key. Paying attention to your habits and your tendencies, procrastinations, judgments, right? Without placing more strain on yourself, just a gentle awareness. So you can see yourself from the outside and become the witness of your experience. So again, it's incredible that you're here because I will remind you often. And if you forget, just chime in on the Facebook group and there we are to support you. One more thing that's kind of, some people know this, some people don't, but if you're eating fruit, fruit is amazing for your body. Different fruits have different qualities. I steer toward, well, I'll say I steer toward low sugar fruits, except for my mango addiction. Hi, I'm Shana. I'm addicted to mangoes. But suggestion is to eat fruit on an empty stomach. And if anything, eat fruit before a meal. So at least 2 hours after a meal and at least 30 minutes before your next meal. Fruit digests very, very easily. But so for example, if you're saying to yourself, well, I want to be healthy, I don't want to eat dessert, so I'm going to have a piece of fruit after my dinner or after my lunch. Since solid matter, solid food takes more hours, it takes 3 to 7 hours, depending on what it is, to digest. If you eat fruit right after, the fruit starts to ferment. And it can cause candida, it can cause yeast overgrowth, it can cause inflammation, and it can cause indigestion. Whereas if you eat the fruit first, it actually goes quickly through your tract and it kind of paves the way, and it'll actually enhance your capacity to digest whatever you're going to eat next. It's also a great way to fill up because fruit is filled with water and enzymes and vitamins and micronutrients. You can fill up on it before you eat. If you tend to overeat, have a fruit before your meal, have a glass of water before your meal. Don't drink water while you're eating or you're going to get bloated. Don't drink anything while you're eating or you're going to get bloated. Drinking is for before or after a meal. It's so important. It's so subtle. All of these things are very subtle. I want to talk a little bit about transitional nutrition and foods that you can have as alternatives for some of your favorite foods, because who doesn't want something crunchy and salty? Who doesn't want something sweet? Texture is a big deal. Taste is a big deal. If we were not designed to appreciate or have things that taste good, we wouldn't have taste buds. We wouldn't have sense receptors. We wouldn't have that natural impulse to after something tastes good, right? Or feels good, or we like the texture of it. So while juice cleansing is a big fad right now, it's good. Juice cleansing is good if you feel like you are literally at your final straw and you have no self-control anymore, and you actually are severely inflamed, obesity, or if a doctor tells you that you're pre-diabetic or obese, or you're having intense emotional eating or attachment to food ongoing, I'd say a 3-day juice cleanse as a reset can be good. But I also know people who juice cleansing is like as much as they can do it. Your body doesn't get fiber when you're cleansing. You don't chew. Of course, you can chew your juice, but I want you to feel more empowered around food. Sometimes it's easy to hide behind a cleanse because, of course, we can all follow a plan, right? Just drink these juices at this time and okay, I can do that. It's rare that I've seen someone complete a juice cleanse and go back to a very, very healthy, balanced diet afterwards. Maybe it's you. I said it's not impossible, but it's rare. Oftentimes I see there's a yo-yo effect that happens. We were really good that we go right back to that reward after, right? We overdo it and it doesn't sustainable. You know, my weight has not changed in 6 years. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with Janine Roth. I'm going to actually write her name in the chat box because you can Google her later. She's incredible. She spoke at my nutrition school. She helps people with eating disorders. I survived from an eating disorder. Those of you who don't know, orthorexia, nearly died. And it's because of a lot of this woman's inspiration. She's a living testament to healing from any type of eating disorder. And eating disorders are not just anorexia or bulimia or overeating. It's also emotional eating, attachment to food, obsessive thinking about food, to the extent that it takes us away from our daily interactions. So again, this is just about being gentle, being aware, and realizing that food is very important, not just in your physical structure, but in your mood, your mind, your energy. Food creates energy. It dictates the quality of your thoughts, your feelings, and your emotions. So, transitional nutrition. I don't know about you, but I love nachos. I love chips. I love anything salty and crunchy. I grew up in New Jersey. I love bagels. I love carbohydrates. I said it. And I'm half Italian. So there you go. These days, if I were to eat pasta, I would get super bloated. That being said, I'll have regular pasta once every 2 months or so. There's a beautiful Italian restaurant. We're going to talk about self-love and great qualities, amazing things for yourself in future sessions. But I go to this very fancy restaurant where they make their own pasta. You can have it once in a while, not a big deal. And I treat it as a meditation. I eat slowly and my body is not affected by it. Again, these are the things that if you're always doing and you're not sure how to transition, one of my favorite foods to eat these days is this. This is Tolerant Foods red lentil pasta. And I'm really picky. Look at the shape. The shape is the fusilli. The fusilli is like that little spiral shape. I'm like anal. If it's not that, I don't want it. Ingredients. Remember, I talked about the nutrition facts label. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about calories. I know that could be a trigger for some calorie counters out there. I get it. I was a mathematician for a long time. Don't worry about the calories. Worry about nothing. But if you want to worry about anything, ingredients. The ingredients here are organic red lentil flour, period. That's it. Nothing else. So this is just red lentils, high in protein, no grains. Grains include wheat, rice, oats, barley, rye, even quinoa. Even though some people say quinoa is not a grain, it is a grain. It's not bad for you, but if you want to experiment with your body operating from ketosis, try avoiding grain-based foods for a few days. See how you feel. Another grain-based favorite of mine are Some of you guys probably know these. Siete. Mind you, you can buy these all online, or I believe Whole Foods has the pasta, but Whole Foods definitely has these chips. In fact, I've found Siete chips at like a very random supermarket. They're becoming much more mainstream. These are grain-free tortilla chips. I love the story on the back about the family and the woman, one of the women in the family who created these chips, she was celiac, she was gluten intolerant, and so she designed these because of her, and now they're totally popular. The ingredients I'll read to you are cassava flour. Cassava is a yucca. It's a root vegetable. Avocado oil, coconut flour, ground chia seed, and sea salt. Nothing that begins with the letter X, nothing crazy. The more that you eat whole, organic, natural foods, mind you, this is not broccoli. These are amazing. Now, if I'm eating the entire bag because I had a stressful day, different story. Focus less on what not to do though, but focus more on chewing, right? Chewing. I like to have my snacks with my meals because I don't like to eat randomly throughout the day. Some of us who do eat randomly throughout the day, that's okay. If you have something like this though, have it with something fresh as well, like guacamole, fresh avocado, or hummus, right? And chew slowly and magic will happen. I really can almost guarantee you that. Another one of my favorites, they're also at Whole Foods. Anything by this brand, Simple Mills, is beautiful. Mind you, I'm talking about transition nutrition. I'm not coming here showing you pictures of carrots and kale because you already know that. I'm talking about the good stuff. These are my favorite toasted pecan, crunchy toasted pecan cookies. They're kind of unassuming because they say gluten-free on the box, but they don't say that they're grain-free. The entire company, Simple Mills, is incredible because everything that they sell has no grains. The ingredients are nut flour, which is a combination of almonds, pecans, and coconuts, a tapioca starch, which is similar to a yucca, cassava, organic coconut sugar, organic coconut oil, vanilla extract, arrowroot, tiger nuts, sea salt, baking soda, rosemary extract. I mean, if you're going to have a cookie, have these, and they have many other flavors. One thing that people, if you want to lose weight, feel more nourished, we have to be getting herbs, medicinal herbs into our diet. Eating vegetables is one thing. We all know we should eat vegetables, eat more green vegetables like broccoli, Swiss chard, kale, collard greens. Eating more vegetables like this, dark green leafy vegetables high in fiber, chewing them well actually breaks down fat in the body because of an enzyme known as lipase. This is legit. Eat it with every single meal. In fact, if you had, say, rice and beans by itself versus having rice and beans with kale, you'll lose more weight. Your digestion will be better if you had the kale with it. Oh, but that's more calories. It's not about it's about the functionality of your food. And everything becomes better if you add some tea. I have this in the evening. In fact, actually, this is what I'm having right now. I have a mixture of green tea and my everyday detox. This is traditional medicinals. Everyday detox. I have the dandelion flavor because I'm crazy. But if you don't like bitter flavor of dandelion, they have lemon flavor and peppermint. Any type of a detox tea, ginger, peppermint, make this a priority, make it a ritual. Have tea, bring it to work in a mug. Have it at work or at home. Sometimes I'll bring tea bags with me, and if I go to a coffee shop or a Starbucks, I'll just ask for hot water and use my own tea and try to make sure it's organic because if it's not, tea leaves are heavily sprayed. You don't have to become obsessive about organic food, but try your best because pesticides are chemicals too. And if what you're eating is heavily sprayed, that also is such a subtle thing, but that can be causing so much from anxiety to depression to fatigue to autoimmune issues to weight gain. So it's not just the primary macronutrients, it's also the subtle. I will say one thing about a supplement is spirulina. It's not good if you're pregnant, but if you're not pregnant, then spirulina, I'm going to put it in the chat box, they have to start understanding how to spell spirulina. Spirulina, I take it every single day. It's incredible for your bloodstream. It's a natural appetite suppressant. It's also a full spectrum amino acid protein. That means that your body will absorb and assimilate this protein. Whereas if you have a piece of meat, even though it may have a certain amount of protein in it, depending on your body's capacity to absorb it, you may get some, you may get none. So this is insurance. You'll feel amazing, very, very energizing, because it's natural. It comes from the ocean. Sea vegetables, very important to connect us to our oceanic qualities. Those are my 4 examples of food. And that is, let me just quickly, we have a couple minutes before I take some questions, but I just want to make sure that I didn't miss anything. So bloating we talked about, energy we talked about, dietary theories, intermittent fasting, cortisol, the energetics of food, ingredient labels. We talked a little bit about deconstructing cravings. That's if you feel like you have an emotional attachment to a food, just get in touch with it. Like I mentioned, I used to think I needed something sweet every single night, and I consciously eat sweet things every now and then, as long as they're sweetened with something healthy like honey or dates or coconut sugar. Again, I only once a day, and only as a mindful dessert where I'm very present with it, if even once a day. Sometimes we're not craving physical food. Sometimes we're craving non-physical food. And that's where the rest of these 7 sessions are going to become incredibly important. And as mentioned earlier, they're going to circle back to this session, and you'll understand, you'll gain more clarity as to like breaking free from whatever habits are holding you back from really knowing yourself on the deepest level and connecting with your intuitive eater and your intuitive being. I'd love to take some questions from you guys. I know I have one in the chat box, and then after I respond to this one, you're welcome to chime in either through the chat box, or you can unmute yourself. Let me answer. Genevieve, do you take spirulina during your fasting hours, or do you take it with your fruit? That's a great question. I take it during my fasting hours. I take these tablets. I bought them in Bali. Some people take them as a powder, and if you do it as a powder, you can add it to a smoothie, in which case you could take it after. But spirulina, in my book, doesn't count as breaking the fast. And neither does a multivitamin. But you want to make sure that if you are taking a multivitamin, that you get the type, if you are going to do a fasting experiment, and maybe you don't, which is fine, that you take it, you buy a vitamin that you can have on an empty stomach. They do sell multivitamins. I'm not too picky about them. If you're not sure, send me a picture on the Facebook group, like, is this good? And I'll tell you yes or no. But what I also like to do, again, is empower people to understand the why. So I'll tell you yes or no, and I'll tell you why. So with anything, with food, like, use the Facebook group, please, and send a picture. I get a notification every time you post on it, and I'll tell you if it's good and why. And then it's not just for you, but you get to also be a voice for the other people who maybe are shy or don't post. So yes. Is there a certain brand of spirulina? That's a good question. Yes, there are many, and I'll say a couple of them. One is Terra Foods, which is affordable because I get it in bulk. This is the powder. I believe they have tablets too. I get it on Amazon. My favorite one is Health Force Nutritionals, which are sold both tablet and powder form. And I bought one in Bali. If they're tablets, it doesn't really matter. If it's powder, I will say, first of all, I guess it's an acquired taste, but there are 2 distinct tastes of spirulina, and one of them does taste like dirty socks. Not going to lie. I don't like that one. So it's usually the cheaper brand that's not organic that does taste like dirty socks. So I'd say look for organic. Usually organic spirulina, for whatever reason, I love the taste of it. I literally could eat spirulina, and I do often. And normally I have green stuff all over my face. You guys are lucky I don't right now. I washed it off. But I do take it every single day in powder and in tablet form. Okay. Third. What is your view on consuming alcohol? Another elephant in the room. Thank you for bringing the elephants. Mind you, all elephants are welcome here. Please know that. Bring them in, my friends. You're here for a reason. Don't hold back. I mean, we're all here. Everything that happens in the gateway stays in the gateway. The gates are like locked fully, and it's our zone. And please also, I'm just going to share one thing because we are public with each other on this forum, which I think is important to connect as women. If something happens in this program and you have an experience or an aha moment, always speak from the I, like I experienced this, as opposed to, oh my God, this person was talking about this, or right. So we're all in agreement of maintaining the sacredness of this container, because when we know that we're safe in a container, that's when we can really begin to rise to a level beyond just the surface. So in response to the elephant, my view on consuming alcohol, okay, I'm going to give you two views, one from a nutritional standpoint. If you want to lose weight and you're drinking alcohol, that's the first thing that should go. It's sugar. It's unnecessary sugar and energy in your body. That I'm saying for weight loss purposes. Now, having one glass of wine every few days is not going to cause you to gain weight per se at all. Question why you're doing it. If you're doing it to unwind and relax, that's fine. And notice the quantity. If it's more than one glass, check in with yourself again. Are there other ways that you can slow down, relax, get out of the mind? It's not a mystery that we drink alcohol because there seems to be this innate human desire to break free from our thoughts sometimes. Like, I don't want to always be thinking of what I have to do later, what I did, or obsessing about this, or that. I just need like that freedom of, and sometimes alcohol can provide that, right? For a temporary amount of time, and then it comes back. So focus less on, I guess the vice per se, and notice what you want to get to, that free space. We're going to talk more about that in the meditation sections as well, but how to really, in a way that's not boring, or you don't need to go to a meditation class, but like incredible ways to get in touch with slowing down, take a bath, maybe some sort of alternative so that you can break it up. It's not bad if you're having one drink every few days. If you are drinking like mixed cocktails, I'd say the healthiest alcohol you can drink is tequila, or again, without the margarita mix, or organic wine is okay, although there's better Boochcraft depending on where you live. I don't know if they sell it. I live in LA and they sell everything like trendy and new. Boochcraft, I'm gonna put here. Don't tell anyone that I'm typing Boochcraft into the chat box. It's a highly fermented alcoholic kombucha. So they basically just ferment SCOBY longer, and it is a lot of alcohol. It's 8%. It's like a beer, not a lot, but it's like a beer. I'm a lightweight, so if I have one glass of kombucha, I'm good to go, or a Boochcraft rather. It's naturally occurring probiotic. There's no added sugar to it. There is sugar from fermentation process, but it's different, and it also feels better in my mind. I don't love drinking anymore. I will have a Boochcraft every now and then. I don't drink wine anymore. I used to like it. What I realized through years and years of, first I deprived myself for a long time, then I started again, is that I liked the idea of it more than actually doing it. I liked knowing that I could. Because when I knew that I couldn't, I felt like I was in this against mode. And then when I started to allow myself, I would just drink and drink. And I'm like, I feel like crap, me personally, and you may not. Some people function better. There was a study done that having one drink a day actually lowers women's risk of breast cancer by a high percent. Having one drink a day lowers the risk as compared to having zero. But having more than one a day did the reverse. So this is really about moderation and just understanding what your behaviors are, what the impulse behind your behavior is, right? And getting real with that. If it's a habit, if anything you feel powerless around, this is your time to like put your foot down lovingly, like a loving step, and just either avoid it, find an alternative that supports you, whether it's honestly like chiming in on the Facebook group, like being here, taking a walk, taking a bath, calling a good friend, getting a massage, all of these things can substitute habits or cravings that we feel powerless around. There's nothing wrong with drinking if it's conscious, if you choose it, if you're aware, if you're grateful, if you're invested energetically. But if it's default, if it's habitual in the way that you're just, it's like automatic, that's different. When you're empowered, there's really no right or wrong. When you're in a place of choiceful awareness. Okay. Do you have any tips to change the behavior of eating fast, eating mindfully, and chewing slowly? Yes. And I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be sending you, I have to just double check, make a note of that, that we have the mindful eating document that you're going to be receiving. If it's not, yes, I'm going to make sure that you receive a mindful eating document in your inbox tomorrow. And it's a guided meditation. So it covers all of that. It's actually how to eat, how to take a bite, how to chew it slowly, what to visualize when chewing. This is just a practice. You're not going to necessarily do this every single time you eat. One thing I'll give you right now is when you take a bite, put the fork or the chopsticks down in between bites. Sit up tall like you're doing right now, of course. Breathe. And then start chewing. And then after like 10 bites, keep it in your mouth, stop chewing for a second, and take another breath. And then go back to the chewing. I will say it'll feel weird in the beginning, but then there's a likely chance you're going to like get addicted to it. You're going to start telling everybody about this chewing thing. Oh my God, it's like a secret. Literally, that's how I learned about it. I used to ask this girl in my yoga training, this is 13 years ago. I'm like, you're so fit. You're so like, oh, you eat so well. I had no idea about anything. This is before anything was like popular, veganism, vegetarianism, gluten. No one knew anything. And she said, oh yeah, well, I practice conscious chewing. And I'm like, I want to do that. What's that? And she taught me the secret about putting the food behind the teeth. I'm like, oh my God, these are secrets. If all the diets out there were like meant to work, like there wouldn't be so many books out there. There wouldn't be such a mystery. I read a statistic today that, oh my God, you guys, I know we have like not a lot of time. I have to find this for you because you will. Okay. Where is this guy? Okay. I read a statistic today. Oh, okay. Personal development in general makes $10 billion a year. 10 billion, not million, billion like a B for Bob. Out of that $10 billion, 50% are weight loss programs. All right, my friends, if it were that easy, it would be easy, right? And that's why I go into the more subtle topics about chewing, about slowing down. We've all tried eating fast, right? We've all tried a diet. We've all tried something that people tell us to do. So this is about like reassessing, realizing that each of you is completely unique and needs different food than the person next to you, than your husband or your lover or your best friend or what someone told you or what you read in a book. You can use all of that as information, but the truth is very specific to you, and only through experimentation, being open-minded, trying new things, not trying certain things, right? Or repeating certain habits, will you know for sure. This has to be a love-based inquiry as opposed to, oh, I can't do this now, or I have to do this. Notice the way in which you're treating this aspect of your life, because it's so crucial. This is your temple, a divine vessel for you to experience life in. You get to experience so much bliss in this body, from the taste and texture of your food to the air that you breathe, the sounds you hear, the touch you feel on your skin. It is a miracle, and you deserve to be nourished comprehensively, fully, so that you can feel more. So yes, I will make sure that you guys receive more about the mindful eating and chewing. For now, experiment. We have 2 more minutes. Does anybody have one final aha moment question? Anything? Speak now or forever hold your peace. I really appreciate your attentiveness. If something pops up, pop it onto the Facebook group. This doesn't end here. You will receive also, I included a sample meal plan for those of you who do like the structure around food, and also who are in a mode to get re-inspired as to some creative recipes if you do have extra time, or you're dedicating one day. I like dedicating one day a week to food shopping, farmers market, and preparing food. I cook about 3 days a week right now. That's what my schedule allows. If it could allow more, I would. But it's important to cook more, and it doesn't have to be chopping onions and following an intense recipe. It can be steaming some broccoli, putting some olive oil, making a piece of fish, or grabbing some grain-free pasta with some tomato sauce and some sauteed kale, a wrap. It can be very, very simple. So it's really about nourishing yourself. Notice if you're always grabbing on the go foods, and try eating more fresh foods, because this is all self-love. This is all, seriously, you guys, it's the foundation for anything else. That's why this session is first. And I really want you to take it seriously, because it's serious. It's more serious than we think. It actually paves the way for a deeper meditation practice, a deeper intimacy practice, a deeper intuition practice, and our capacity to create, to bring in more abundance into our lives. Starts with food. I appreciate your attentiveness, your receptivity. I hope that you got a lot out of this session. I could talk about this topic for a long time, but I don't know if we all want to sit here for 5 years. That being said, have a beautiful evening or day wherever you are. I look forward to seeing you next week. Again, I'll be in touch tomorrow with more, and I'm going to hop onto the Facebook group now. If you guys want to join me, you're more than welcome to. Thank you, and have a beautiful, blessed day. Namaste.